Patrick, the idea that we're recording this, we have to be upfront. We have to be honest about when we record these. And I mean, it's the holiday season. We're getting into it right now. And,
Yes.
So you're listening to this beginning of season 2 of PM Talks in January. But if we're going to be totally upfront and honest about this was recorded in December. In fact, on December 12th. So almost a full, actually pretty much a full 2 weeks or month rather before we actually air.
A full month.
Yeah, a full month.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, I want to be completely honest about that, which I think is fitting. Right?
Well, and I think people need to understand that accounts for almost all the episodes. And in fact, there are some that we recorded like 2 months before they came out, just because of scheduling or whatnot.
Summer does that. Summer does that. Summer is one of those ones where, and I think that happens pretty much everywhere, where you want to get things done by, like, say, the end of May, so that way June, July, and August can be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more free flowing, a little bit more. There's a holiday, kids are out of school, that sort of thing. I mean, that gap has changed so much for us here as well, because. And you'll notice this with Beatrix when she goes to university or college, is summer now starts essentially for my daughter in April. Like, that's when it's like April exams are done.
Yeah.
And they go until August. So it's like 4 months of or like, all right. So, and actually, as of this recording, my daughter has decided that she's not going to stay in Montreal for the summer. She is in fact going to come back for the which means that my schedule will adjust. Now, she's 21 years old, so I mean, again, her propensity to want to go, hey, Dad, let's hang out all day and all the time is low, but still.
Well, still, there will be, there will be adjustments and changes to your schedule to accommodate the fact that she's back, and you want to spend as much time with her as you can.
Hey, you want to keep yourself honest throughout those processes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, in case you haven't picked up on it, today we're just talking about honesty, and I picked this topic. I strongly advocated for it. In fact, I made Mike change around the entire order of our topic schedule.
I had a soliloquy and everything for the topic. I had a soliloquy for the day and everything. It's okay.
Oh, so sorry. That's okay.
Because actually, interestingly, Patrick, because the nature of the topic, it's fine. It could be moved to wherever based on the topic we're going to do before, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm sorry for how long you're going to have to hold on to that soliloquy, but but here's the thing. And this is the reason why my headspace is here, and I'm so passionate about it, and I'm thinking a lot about honesty right now, and that is because the biggest lies and the worst lies are the ones we tell to ourselves daily, hourly, minute by minute, with everything that is on our task list, with everything we set out to do. The truth of the matter is that we are able to not be honest with ourselves far easier than we are able to not be honest with other people, like a lot easier. And the way that I want to illustrate that, or speak to that is, the things we're not honest about, the things we put on our lists, our task lists, the things we want to do, our commitments that we make, as I've said before, I believe on this program and others, it's very easy to make a doctor's appointment, to schedule a doctor's appointment, and to keep that commitment. But how easy is it for you to say, I really want to block off 2 hours today to get a little more action on this particular thing, and then something else pops up and you're just like, oh, I'll just go do that other thing. Or the 2 hours rolls around and you're like, what's happening here on Facebook is so much more interesting. I mean, we do that to ourselves all the time.
Right.
And so we're not really, we're not honest about the commitments that we make to ourselves. We're not honest about our capacity. We almost always have way more on our list of things we'd like to get done than we actually have the capacity to get done. We're not honest about our intentions, i.e., do I really want to do that? Is it something I have to do that I don't want to do? Okay, well, that's one thing. But like, there's lots of altruistic things. And the reason it's important right now in January is that I'm betting around this time people made resolutions and they made lists and they have every intention of doing those things, and those things will get undone because they were not honest about that. It was nice. It felt good to say, yeah, I'm going to lose weight, or oh, I'm going to eat healthier, or I'm going to go to the gym every day, or I'm going to do this, or it feels really good. And you're going to start off strong, I bet. You're going to get that gym membership and you're going to go every day, and that's going to last for about 2 weeks, and then something else is going to pop up and and what you've done is you've lied to yourself. You have not been honest with yourself. You have not been honest with that commitment, or or your intentions. And we need to say it in those kind of strong terms, because I think it's too easy. Just like it's easy to lie to ourselves, it's also easy to let us off the hook for that lying. And we need to change that.
Yeah. It's funny. You may have noticed, Patrick, I was reaching behind me. I have a plethora of books. And actually, this quote was going to be the very beginning quote of my upcoming book, Productiveness, which is now, as of this recording, you can get updates and so on and so forth. And hopefully, I think by this time of this airs, Patrick, you should have a version of it you can actually read and go through. But I changed the quote. And I did it, I'm probably going to think on maybe what you're talking about is part of the reason why. So this is Joan Didion's The White Album. I don't know if you've ever read.
I have not.
So this is one of the most famous quotes from the entire book, and it's actually from the very beginning. And it's we tell ourselves stories in order to live.
Yes.
And
yes,
those stories. So what's interesting is I pulled that quote out. By the way, love Joan Didion's work. Love this book. There's a great documentary about her. I think it's called The Center Must Hold.
Yes,
which is
I'm
worth
familiar.
reading. I mean, and there's a lineage with Joan Didion that goes beyond her writing. Like, she was married to the uncle, I believe, of Griffin Dunne and some of the actors. So it's definitely a well-heeled, well-known family. But the reason I changed it, I'm not going to say what I changed it to. You by now will know what it is, Patrick, by the time you read it. But what I changed it to made more sense, because I think that when you read that quote, it cuts both ways, right? It's like we tell ourselves, these stories we tell ourselves are there in order to like make sense of the world, et cetera, et cetera. But how we make sense of the world is often determined by, it's not necessarily the truth. It is, quote, our truth or our version or whatever, right? But the other way is the thing is perspective, right? It's about perspective. And often it's so funny when you were talking about, like, we commit to things, we do this, but the other thing we do around honesty, I think, is we also say, this is the most common lie that we say, and it's passed off as if it's accepted, is, I don't have time.
Yes, and I push back on that one all the time.
Right.
I hear it from
and there's
my
so
wife,
many,
right?
There's so many quotes and stuff around it, like saying time is a man-made thing. Saying I don't have time is like saying I don't want to, which is, I mean, and you can break it down to pithy elements and stuff. But what it really, like, when you say that in and of itself, I think should be that gut check of, like, I don't have time. Why don't I have time? Like, we stop before we get to that deeper level.
Well, and the better, the closer to truth is, I don't make time for that. I haven't said no to things so that I can say yes to that thing, because these other things that I'm saying yes to, I have determined more important than that thing.
Right. And
I was thinking, and that's the honesty piece of it, right?
Right. But we use words and language in ways that we don't understand either. Like, I was nerding out about this yesterday, about the idea of immediacy versus urgency. Right.
Yes.
And if someone like those are different. They're different, but they're similar. Like they're cousins to each other, right? Like a lot of people will go, I need this immediately. This is urgent. Well, if you've ever been to an urgent care ward of a hospital, like urgent is the big blanket, but I've been to the urgent care element, and anyone who's been to that knows that depending on your, you know where I'm getting at, right?
Yes. Urgent could mean 6 hours in a waiting room.
It could. It depends on so if you were having if you were having some massive cardiac issue, there is an immediacy there, and immediacy means really absence of time and space, right? It literally is now. Now. Right?
Yes. We need a bed. We need to address this immediately.
Right. Urgent is like the larger umbrella. Like urgent says, hey, we're going to, quote, see you sooner than you would if you were just to trounce into the main area of the hospital. It's the same thing. So when you look at your to-do list, which is funny because, again, we hear about important and urgent as but no one talks about immediacy. Like if you were, when they're looking at their to-do list, why? Because most of those things don't make it to your to-do list. If it's immediate, you're skipping that step altogether.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if it, or worse, it's on the list. It's been on the list for so long, languishing there, that it is now immediate. And you're like, well, why is this so immediate? Well, because it went from important to urgent and important to now immediate, which means there's no time or space for you to do anything with it other than to just crank it out. And when we think about when we pack our schedules or we pack our lists, I think that the pass we give ourselves is it allows us to, it kind of says, well, I can't be honest about this because I don't know. I have no idea. Like it becomes it becomes so ambiguous or nebulous that it blurs everything. So the easy cop-out answer is I don't have time. So the question is why? Well, because I have all these things to do. What are those things? But in all of that, people are confusing immediacy with urgency, right? Because immediacy would mean that they don't have time to even think about it. Urgency means, oh, this person's having a cardiac event. They're jumping the queue. Oh, this person has they've clearly got a broken, like when my son went, like the little bone on your elbow.
Right?
Yeah,
little elbow bone.
But the thing is, often those breaks are like when you try to stop yourself from falling and you plant your hand down, like that can actually break the fracture, like the little bone way up here, which I guess that's how the body works, right? Both my kids have had that happen to them. We sat in emergency for like hours and hours and hours because it wasn't as immediate a need as, say, the person who is a variety of things. Someone's overdosing, which happens. I mean, we live in a city that there is that. There is that. Cardiac events. It's elderly people who are older that are like, hey, you know what? We need to get them more because they aren't as resilient. Kids are like, give me a popsicle, I'll be fine. Like, whatever, right? Give me my iPad and I can. Well, it's only one arm. It's fine. But so we can't. It's really important. And if you're going to be honest with yourself, is when you say, I don't have time, instead of keeping on rushing ahead, it's pause even for a moment, because we have no gauge of how long what a pause can do for us in those moments. If you take just a breath, a beat, and look at your list and go, okay, why don't I have time? Oh, it's because all these, well, wait a minute, this thing isn't even due yet. Or this thing doesn't even matter. Or this thing could wait. That it's that assessment phase that is really important, but we don't give ourselves, because we don't
make the time for that.
Yes, we don't. Yeah, we don't. That's the part we're not making time for, so that we can make time for those things that truly, quote, that matter, that are the things that we really do want to do and need to do.
Yes. And the truth of the matter is that in the action of the day, as it were, oftentimes there will be things that pop up, things that are things you have to address immediately.
Sure.
Things that are urgent and take priority over what your plan was.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the action of the moment, we don't take a step to say, because here's the thing with the immediate thing, like, yeah, that's like no time to think. Even I've got to get that addressed right now. My water pipe bursts while we're having this podcast recording. I can guarantee you that this will drop.
Yeah. It's the
right?
that's also the distinction between a disruption and a distraction, right? Like a disruption is the water pipe breaks, you've got to go. It's not that's not a distraction. A distraction would be your phone starts ringing, and you've not mitigated, like, because that's the other thing too, is you can mitigate those to know, oh, that's my wife because she's got a special ringtone or a special ring vibration. I've got to check that out versus just the generic one, right? Or
right, exactly.
So there's a distinction there, but to your point, I wonder if I just use the term. If we took a moment to wonder when we say, I don't have time, or instead of being definitive, like, yes, I can do this, or no, I can't, because the jump from yes to no is hard for people who want to please, right? Like, we know that you've said this many times, saying no is saying yes to other things. But a lot of people have a hard time saying no because they want to achieve, they want to please, they want to do all of those things, right? And only through wisdom and lived experience, most people finally figure out, oh, you know what? I can't do this as much as I would like to. And maybe I should be a bit more prudent about what I'm saying and committing to. But if we took a moment, and even if we skip the, well, why don't you have time, or why are you so busy? But just in that moment of wonder of like, why is that, like, that reaction to, can you do this? No, I can't. Or I don't have time, or I'm busy. And it happens in the most innocuous, it happens in the moment too. Like my son has an essay project that he's submitting because he wants to go to a university exchange program, which is really cool. And and the deadline's January 15th, and we're kind of giving him, like, hey, but we're also leaving him to his own druthers because it's his baby. And so you know me well enough to know that if he was like, hey, can you take a look at my essay today? Like, yeah, like anytime after, like, yeah, sure, whatever. But if I'm in the middle of something, like, he likes to play on his time, right? So it's like, hey, Dad, can you come look at this now? I'm like, well, now I'm in this thing. My knee-jerk reaction was to do that. My knee-jerk reaction was when he asked me, I'm like, dude, you literally, like, caught me when I'm in the middle of the thing that I do.
Yeah.
But I took a moment. And in that moment, I said, what's the most important? I didn't ask how long it was going to take. I didn't ask any of that. I said, I'd committed to him that like, and this is important to him, which therefore it's important to me. Yeah, I'll take a moment. I'll take whatever time it takes, is what I said. I said, sure. I pressed pause on what I was doing. You know what it was? So I didn't even know the construct of this. You've raised a teenager. We both raised teenagers. The ambiguity in which they state things is fascinating to me. It's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, it's just this thing. And then you see, you're like, no, it's way bigger than that. What you're being very, very, you're not being completely, quote, honest about it because maybe you don't know. And so when he said,
that's important too.
It's that. So he shows me it, and it's not an essays. It's questions. It's short answer questions. So they're like 100 to 200 word answers, and he has 2 of them done. It took me 5 minutes to read them and go, yeah, that looks really good. Or here, it's like I had to, I said, don't forget, it's possessive versus it's, not possessive. And I said, that's the one thing that I go, this is great. And he goes, okay. I'm like, is there anything else? He goes, no, that's all I've got for now. And he's plugging away at it, oddly enough, bit by bit, which is the kind of stuff we talk about, like dedicating a bit of time every day to it, as opposed to trying to do it all in one go. And I'm like, so the disruption, which was what that was, by not dismissing it, right? Because it was, I guess essentially it was a distraction because it wasn't an emergency. It was like, hey, Dad, can you do this? If he had fallen down the stairs, that's a disruption, because I would have been like, what the hell happened? I didn't know enough about what he was distracting me with, for lack of a better term. And instead of dismissing it with like, I've got to do this thing, which again, I have time. I went and did it, and it didn't. I was actually truly honest with myself in that moment, because I lived up to everything that I said I was going to do. I knew honestly that I could still work on the thing I was working on, even if I was going to be pulled away from it for a moment. And my decision was rewarded unknowingly by the fact that it took like 10, 15 minutes at the most to do. And then I was back at it, and I served 2 masters instead of just ignoring one altogether. Because here's the other thing about teenagers, any of you've raised, if they come to you with something and they ask you for something, that's a leap.
That's special.
That's a leap.
Yeah, that's special. Yeah.
Because more often than not, they're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or whatever. You get the side eye. So you have to take that into account too. But I know that's a long story to get to this idea of like, if you just, it's the dismissiveness of, I don't have time, I'm busy, I'll get to it later, which of course, or tomorrow, which is, a closer version of later that you still don't have any sense of whether or not you can. Just that moment of wonder, a moment, not a minute, a moment of, well, can I move this? Let's look and see why I said that. Like, what does my list say? What does my calendar say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very important.
That to me is because again, all of this is stories that you're telling yourself. I don't have time. That's a story you say. To live the way that you have been living in a world that presents you with so many things that you can or cannot do or want not to do. Like, there's just so many things you have to kind of decipher. Wonder helps with that. It keeps you as close to being, I think it can keep you closer to being honest with yourself as long as you're open.
Yeah. Well, and and here's some other things that keep you closer to being honest with yourself. I have gotten some pushback in the past and some support. Don't get it twisted. About when I say that if you have things that you really intend to do, even tasks, that those should go on your calendar. You should plan time during your day for doing that thing, and that time should be blocked off on your calendar. Now, the reason for that, and I could talk all day long about like how everything happens within time anyway, and whether or not you actually put it officially on your calendar or not, it's happening in time, and therefore is technically on your calendar. You just haven't been honest with the fact that it is.
Right.
But the other part of that is because doing such things helps keep you honest, in the same way that putting a doctor's appointment on the calendar helps keep your commitment to going to that appointment. So too can putting your cleaning the kitchen and blocking off a half hour for that on your calendar. And when it gets to that time, and you look at your calendar and you have an appointment with yourself to clean the kitchen, you're actually more likely, because you have committed to it, because you have blocked it off, because you've said, this is my time for doing this, right?
Yeah.
And also it helps to firewall other things that may pop up. Maybe, oh yeah, I've got to call and make a vet appointment. I keep talking about doctors and vets, and I got to come up with better metaphors here, because this is getting
the stage of life you're in, Patrick.
I know, right? Everyone's sick. Everyone's
I use
dying.
the hospital metaphor. It's like,
yeah. This is just crazy. In any case, yeah. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, oh well, but I've planned this time for doing this, so I will plan a different time for doing that, maybe after I clean the kitchen.
Right.
But my point being is that using your calendar in that way helps you keep those commitments. Here's another thing that I want to talk about, especially as this is airing around the January time, when people are making these sorts of resolutions and intentions and kind of setting their goals for the year. And there a lot of, I know you say you can start a new year anytime you want, which is absolutely true. Don't discount that. But most people are in that headspace.
They
right
fall
now.
in the fold because it's where everyone's going. I totally.
It's where everyone's going. It's where the Romans taught us to be. Thank you, Caesar. Hail Caesar. All right. So, all of this is to say that one of the other ways that I keep kind of my larger commitments done is my wife and I every year around this time we take a what I refer to as a couples retreat, and just her and I go away somewhere for a couple of days, and our project, besides spending time together and having some time to connect and just kind of have discussions and kind of ideate about what's going on, what we have coming up in the coming year, kind of all of that. We use this thing called the year compass to help to capture and to plan that stuff. And what it does is this. Number one, it makes sure that we're on the same page, because as a married couple, there are lots of things that, she has her idea of what priorities are and why and whatever. I have my ideas about what things for the coming year should be priorities and what we should pay attention to and that sort of thing. And it is not uncommon for those to be completely like this, right?
Yeah.
And that she's not even thinking about the things that I'm thinking about, and I might not be thinking about the things that she's thinking about. And sure, there might be some of this where it's kind of overlapping, right? But the truth of the matter is that it is more often than not a chance to get us all like together. Like she hears like the things that and we have a chance to discuss it and reasons why and this, that, and the other, and sometimes debate over a couple of things and whatnot. And then together as a unit, we go, this is what's important, right? These are the things that we'd like to make sure we pay attention to this year. These are the things we know are going to happen. We know that Beatrice is going to graduate from school. We know that we are going to have to be preparing her for that next step. We don't yet know where, whether that's what college. We don't know like any of that stuff, and we won't know by January most likely. And heck, we probably won't know until May 1st, which is the actual commit date for every college. That's when you absolutely have to make a decision and commit to that decision. But we know it's coming. We know that on May 1st, she's going to commit to something somewhere, right?
Right.
And so what does that mean? And what are the things that need to get done between now and then from then till she actually goes to school? It's things like that we can kind of come together on. We can talk through. We can talk about our concerns. We can talk about our hopes. We can get all that stuff together on the same page. But then a magic thing happens. Because we've done this work together, because we have it written down, because we go back and we can refer to it, throughout the year, it helps not only us keeping honest with ourselves and our own commitments, But now I, I I've got to make sure that the promises that I've made there to her and that she's made to me a ground, and that we've agreed upon, this is our focus, this is what we're doing. That we help keep each other honest.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, when other things come up, we have a chance to discuss, well, I don't know. I know you want to do this, but is that really more important than getting this done? Because if we do that, we can't do this. There's no time.
Well,
right?
And I think the other thing too is as you bring that up, like when you're putting things on your calendar, you're essentially committing with time to do those things. The time to. So we're talking about relationships here. I mean, the next best thing, because time. I mean, when you're doing that on the calendar, you're committing to time, but you're also committing to yourself, as you pointed out.
Sure.
What you're talking about is who's the next best, closest person that I can be completely honest with.
Yes. And that can be honest with holding me to those.
Yes, exactly. Like it's a simpatico thing. There's the relationship. You and Bethany have that relationship so that you can go ahead and you can do that. So it's a galvanizing of all of that, right? Plus, I think the other thing that does, and this is why, like, my wife and I make time, even though there's more times than not that we don't want to do it at this point. Largely because it's going to be talking about something that we don't necessarily want to address, but know that
well, there is that.
Is our effing meeting that we have every Sunday: food, finance, family, fun, right? and it has become more about finance and food than family, simply by virtue of the fact that one of our kids is not here and the other one is doing a lot of their own things. So we are looking at what the family's got going on in terms of, is Colton working tonight? Okay, so what are we going to do for dinner? Like, so it plays a role, but it's not as we've got to go get Colton here, we've got to go pick up Grace here or whatever. What's interesting is we've the fun element's been added. We're like, hey, we should go look and see what we could do together. Like, is there a because the thing about those weekly sessions, it does hold us accountable to the budget, to the food that we're going, like to our meals and all that such. But it doesn't go as wide as what you're talking about in terms of longer term, like over the course of a calendar year. I think that connectivity, that, for lack of better, that alignment is really important, because you can't, to your point about honesty, you can't be fully honest about what your intentions are if you haven't placed, if you aren't giving them the attention that they deserve, because they're not going to move forward. They're not going to move forward. And I can tell you that there, as you were talking about this, we're going away for the holidays for a few days. The kids are going skiing. I think we've talked about my love of skiing, which is non-existent. So I'm not going to be skiing, but my wife and I are going to snowshoe. And then, like, if there's a second, but it's got me thinking, like, her and I should probably do something similar. I can't remember if we've ever done what you're talking about, where we sit down and we map out, largely because I spend my time in this arena. So I have to be careful that it doesn't turn into well, let's time craft this, because you know what I mean? Because, like, to your point about the calendar stuff, like you say, put everything on your calendar, and I agree in a different way. That's why time theming exists, right? So when you say clean the kitchen on that day, I say, well, it's your daily theme is Saturday. Saturday's daily theme, rather, is stewardship. The thing that falls into stewardship is cleaning. That's the day I do the cleaning, right? So it gives people, it's a wider berth for people to fit their tasks into, as opposed to being overly specific, which, to me, when you do get overly specific, it strengthens that a bit more. But also, a lot of people have a hard time going, I'm going to clean I don't really feel like cleaning my kitchen. Well, now what do I do? There's 4 other things you could clean. Pick one of those, right? So it's that weird, you have to either be willing to go, I can't afford to have decisions, therefore I'm going to put it on my calendar because decisiveness is my weakness. I cannot make a decision around that. Versus,
once again, being honest with yourself about that.
Right. Versus I need variety. I need to know that there's one of 3 options or one of 5. therefore I will use themes in this instance. But you have to be willing to do the upfront work first. You have to be willing to go, I need to have categories that I can look at quickly and go, oh, this is what this falls into.
And that is so important about productivity and about all of these various systems that you see, whether you're a bullet journal person or whether you're a time crafting productivity diet sort of like that sort of thing. Whether you're like all of these various things are proposals that any of us, Mike, you would be the first person, I'm sure, to say that, hey, this works for me. Maybe it'll work for you, but I know it's not going to work for everybody.
I'd be the second. I'd be the second person to say it. Merlin Mann would be the first one to say it. That's fine for Merlin.
Right.
And then I would be probably the second person.
That's fine for Merlin. Yes, exactly. Well, and I think that that's important to repeat all the time. I think that folks like Merlin and like even David Allen, even like if you were to talk to these people, they would tell you that I have found that this works for me and has worked for countless other people that I've coached, and it works for them. But there are some people for whom this just will not work for. It's just not who they are. And I think that, step one is being honest with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like seriously, because that's the one thing that's almost impossible to change, right?
Yeah.
So my daughter, she has an ankle injury that was exacerbated by something that happened at circus. But she's had it treated now for about 3-4 years. Gone through various orthopedic appointments and things like that. And what it comes down to, and this came up in a very recent conversation that was like the best way that I've heard this put by one of the orthopedic specialists that is on the team at Circus. And she said, well, here's the thing. This is it is a repetitive use style injury. And of course, when she is performing, she is doing more things that use this collection of components in her ankle that is going to cause it to inflame that, and that, yes, we can give her PT, we can ice it, we can but the problem actually comes from how she walks.
Yeah.
And that the only way to fix this permanently is for her to relearn how to walk.
Yep.
Now, I just want people to think about that. Think about how you walk. Think about how natural that is. How you don't even think about it. You just get up and walk, and it just works. And great. That's wonderful for you. If I were to tell you that how you walk was going to cause a permanent issue with your foot or with your ankle or whatever, because you're walking incorrectly and that you have to change that now, and that literally is retraining your brain with how it has learned how to walk over, in her case, 17.75 years.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
seen the way I walk? Have you ever noticed? It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
I used to get berated by my parents. Like, I would walk toe heel, not heel toe. That's how I.
No, and that's her problem.
Yeah.
On one foot she walks heel toe, the other it's heel. I mean, it's toe
heel. Both I walk, so it looks like I'm always going to fall forward. Like that's how I look. Like it looks like.
Wow.
So when I was a kid, my parents would say, especially my mom, she'd be like, "You need to walk. Like you need to change the way you walk. You need to fix. So you got to walk and go heel toe, and it was exhausting to the point where I had to decide. And I don't think I made the choice consciously. It was just like.
It's just like how
F this.
How reasonable is this?
Like
right.
I'm willing to like. It's the same thing where I've had people like back when we were younger. I mean, we're closer to the same age than we're not. Getting orthodontic was expensive. It was like for your teeth. And also it was always felt to be cosmetic. Now there's been some research that shows that it's not right, like TMJ and all that stuff.
Right. No,
so my parents never did get me any kind of dental stuff. They're like, well, sorry, we can't afford it. It's just cosmetic. Don't worry about it. Now, of course. So, I mean, years later, I'm like, I would like to get my teeth fixed. Like this is back in my 30s. I'm like, I want to get my teeth fixed, so on and so forth. It's probably I think it's probably, it'd be my late 20s before I met my wife. And so I was very self-conscious about them. And the dentist said, yeah, we can refer you all that stuff. But in order for us to actually do it, we would need to break your jaw.
Yep.
And you would need to learn how to do all this stuff again. You wouldn't be able to talk for a while. You wouldn't be able to, your voice, the way your face
you'd be
your face
eating
would change
through a straw.
But your face would legitimately change too, because the structure of it, and they're like, we can do it. And I'm like, it's not worth it. Like, it really isn't worth it. No. And you brought up the idea of, and I think that this is, I actually am probably going to take this quote and put it somewhere where I need to see it, even at 51 going on 52. I think this is this quote from E.E. Cummings, which I think is totally relevant. And I had to remember who it was that did it, but it's to be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. And you have to, but to get there, you have to be willing to be honest with yourself, to go, this is who I am.
Yes. And honest with your capacity, honest with your intentions, honest with like, am I the best person for this? Honest with, those around you, who are saying, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to be this way or that way. At a certain point, you just have to say, yeah, but that's not who I am. And what you're asking is for me to be someone else.
Yeah.
And I think at a certain point, we ask ourselves to be someone else. We ask ourselves to be the person for whom GTD works. We ask ourselves to be the person for whom time crafting works. We ask ourselves to be the person for whom bullet journaling works, right? We ask ourselves to be the person for, who can sketch note, or who can, or who can, I don't know, fly a plane.
Or dive deeply into Notion or any of this stuff. It's the vulnerability piece that I think is fascinating to me, because we try to be invulnerable in a world that doesn't allow it, but yet we still try.
And also we are constantly looking outside ourselves and who we are for the solution that's going to solve all the things. And the truth of the matter is that all of that you already have, if you're honest with yourself, if you figure out first how you work, right? I invented the Dash Plus system because it's how I already took notes. For whatever reason, I don't know why, back when I was in high school, I decided that the way that I take notes is in more of an outline kind of system, and that outline always started with little dashes as opposed to bullets. I'd do a dash, 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 right? I'd been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until GTD came along that was like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to look back at these things and process these things and decide the next action on these things and what needs to happen. Huh. Okay. Oh, wait. I can take these dashes and I can take that idea and I can modify these little dashes in such a way that I can easily scan this page and figure out what are the projects, what are the tasks, what are the this, what are the that, and I can use that as a launching point to then kind of sift through and decipher that information, and hence Dash Plus was born. Dash Plus for me came about because I was looking for a way to take this other idea, deciding and knowing who I was and how I worked, and figuring out how to fit that idea into how I worked.
Yep. And you know what's funny is the Dash Plus system, which we'll link to for sure in the show notes. I use a modified version of that now to a degree as well. Like I have a plus that says I've done this, an X, which means I didn't do this. And not only did I not do this, I have decided that I'm not
ever going to doing it.
I use a minus sign, which is basically half a plus to say I've made progress on it. And then I actually use, and I have the strike through system, which is kind of like if you're, which I've talked about before in my work. We'll link to that as well, which is like kind of like if you're using paper. A straight line means you got it done. A squiggly line means you're not doing it. An arrow through it means you've moved it ahead. And if it's not been anything done to it, then it means it's still open, right? Like you have not made a decision around it. So the last element of this kind of system I'm using in my monk manual right now in the little X, like the little squares, is if a minus can turn into an arrow, it means I have pushed this. So I have decided that I've done enough of it that I'm pushing it, which is a version of what you've got. Like, that's the interesting thing.
Sure.
And honestly, if we're going to, if I would imagine that by the time I am, as I make my way through and I've minimized my quote commitments, I have a feeling that over time, what'll end up happening is my system will be very much still similar to this, but we're still using elements of time crafting, of course. But I'll focus on energy. Is this a up arrow or a down arrow? Oh, it's a down arrow. It's low energy. Okay, that gets done in the first half of the day. Oh, it's an up arrow. That gets done in the second half of the day. Why? Because I'm a night owl, and that's the way my energy flows. And at the end of the day, I'm the one arbitrarily setting up when I'm doing this stuff anyway. So I might as well adhere to the most natural rhythms that I have. And and you know this as well. And as you get older, energy plays more and more. If you're being honest with yourself, it's playing more and more of a role. I know I can't do as much as I used to do. So it's now about not volume, but not volume of what I do, but impact, right? So and that's the hard part, because again, we live in a world that's like, if you do a lot of things, you're productive, which is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
It's Brad Stulberg, who I just interviewed, his episode is coming up. I think it may even already be out by now, but nonetheless, he has a book called The Way of Excellence. And one of the things he taught, which I loved, I think you'd love it too. In that he's, we're focusing on the wrong thing. He says excellence, his formula, like one of the quotes in the book is, excellence is mastery and mattering combined. Like you're mastering things, and it's things that matter. It's valid. He talks about flow in the book, and you've heard of I don't know if you've heard the term shitty flow at all, Patrick. Have you heard this term? Because people want to get into flow, but you know what we can get into flow all the time on if we really want to? Social media.
Yeah, of course.
It's shitty flow.
As a matter of fact, we do.
Right.
We do all the time. We get in the flow on all sorts of things that we shouldn't be getting in the flow on. TV, for instance. Binge watching series of of Ted Lasso is getting in the flow, right?
And flow doesn't care, and he points out flow doesn't care about values. It just cares about outcomes, right? It just cares about like it
cares about state.
Fair. Well, I don't even. It is a state. I don't think it cares about state. I think it is
a state.
Right.
Yes, which that state is towards outcomes. Okay,
right.
gotcha.
And to your point, but conversely, we hear about friction. Friction's bad. Friction's this. Friction. No, friction can be good. Friction is a signal. I mean, the obstacle is the way is literally written about like, hey, this obstacle, you're looking at it as a problem. It's actually the way forward. It's pointing you in the direction.
Yeah.
So when you face like you mentioned binge watching. My wife and I watched The Beast in Me, which was fantastic. Loved it. We wait until the whole series is done so that we can, although this time I think they were all released, but we like to wait because that way we can kind of do it on our own time. Like, hey, we want to watch it tonight, tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
We know it's there.
Yeah.
But at the end of every episode, there's a next episode, and it gives you like 5 seconds to make that choice of what that's friction. That's friction. Now that friction, it depending on where you're at, that friction could be come on, like I want to get to the next episode, or that friction point could be this is my chance to stop and move on to something else.
I will note that they almost always include a little skip button or start next episode button in there too.
There's that. There's also skip the credits, right? You know what the best part of friction right now?
The intro.
The best part of friction right now, which my kids hate, and I love that they're going through this, is commercials. Because now all these streaming services, remember they were the hey, if you pay for this, it's ad free. Like you're paying for. We're back to cable again, basically.
Right? No. So I wish at this time to remind people that the absolute most popular. It got fireballed. It went up on Dig. It was just like it was the only post, really one of 2 posts I've written on any of my websites that went quote unquote viral. Was a post on Mimel Mac. It's still up there. People can search it. They'll find it. Called "TV is Broken," and it is about Beatrix, who at the time was like 5 years old. Discovering real TV for the first time in a hotel.
We've all been that. Like anyone who's traveled has been that experience.
Right. And was like, someone who had watched nothing but streaming things or things on DVD or, the Wiggles on whatever, like suddenly encountering something that stopped.
Yep.
In the middle of it. To show her something, and she was like, "What the heck is this?" And she decided that the TV was broken.
well, and it's funny,
and I was inclined to agree with her that yes, indeed, it was.
But what's funny about that is like, especially with kids' cartoons and stuff like that, like they got smart about it because I mean, you can't. Well, you might be able to see it. No, it's a little too low. So I have I think I've told you this story, but. And again, this is a version of keeping me honest too, because 4 of these things are not even opened yet. I have, I was a big fan of the Transformers cartoon, Generation 1. It was my wheelhouse. And one of my favorite kind of episodes that I've actually rewatched on Tubi and stuff is when the aerial bots and Stunticons were created. Anybody who knows Transformers lore knows the Stunticons were the Decepticons. They were the first cars for the bad guys, and the aerial bots were the first planes for the good guys. Now, the interesting thing about that story, for those that are not Transformers fans, is that the leader of the plane was initially a low-flying cargo plane, and when he was converted into this new version, he was turned into a Concorde jet. They're not low-flying, but he had a fear of heights. So Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots, goes, "Hey, Silverbolt, what happened out there?" Because he saw that, like, he goes, I was a low-flying cargo plane. I'm afraid of heights. He goes, "Tell you what, in order to keep your mind off of your fear of heights, I'm going to make you the leader of this team." Maybe not the best leadership advice, but nonetheless, it worked. And so you fast forward to now, and by the way, it worked out well. The aerial bots are great. They were my favorite combiner because they were the first Autobot combining team. Well, this year, 2025, as we're recording this, they came out with finally the version of them in a toy form that look so much like the cartoon, because back then they didn't look like the cartoon. Keep in mind, all of these cartoons, when we were watching them as kids, were designed by the companies as commercials. The Transformers show was a commercial. G.I. Joe was a commercial. They were there to sell toys. That's how they got around the whole and they had to put a lesson in each one. So my lesson in that one was, hey, you know what? If you cast your fear aside with something that's more altruistic or then that's like that. They try to fit lessons into every show. So I bought Silverbolt. I actually have him. And and what's interesting is all 5 of these jets combine into a much larger jet. Well, I only got to open this Silverbolt when I finished the draft for productiveness. Once I got it off, I'm like, there, I got over my fear. Because if you think about the productivity diet when it came out, and you and I have had this conversation privately, that took way longer than it should have, without a doubt.
Yeah.
This one, I put the fear aside and said, no, this is where I'm at now. And this is the book that comes out now. And that's why productiveness exists. But what about these other 4 aerial bots that I bought? They're in boxes. I can see them when I walk into my study next to my basically my writing drawers that have the ideas for my other books. Those other robots, those Transformers, represent future books. All 4 of them. So there you go. Now you know there are 4.
Yeah, okay.
4 more.
All right.
I don't get to open them until those books are written. Which is
motivation.
It's motivation.
You're being honest with yourself.
And I don't get to build the final version of this combiner until all 5 of the books that I want to write, including the one that is now coming out, are done. And my wife was like, first off, why'd you buy them then? Like, what's the point? Like, I mean, I'm like, well, first, she goes, buy them when they're done. I'm like, no, here's the thing about these toys. I bought them, each of these cost $30. If I waited until the final book was done to get them, multiply that by 10 because they're collectible.
They're
So yes, it is a form of keeping myself honest to say, hey, I don't get to open the it's dangling of a carrot works. And you just got to find the right carrot, and there's got to be meaning behind it. And so for me, that was that, and so if someone asks me will you ever get rid of those? I'm like, no, that toy means something different than just a toy. It has so many layers to it. And again, I think about vulnerability when it comes to honesty and all of these things. It comes back to taking a beat. If you can find not just time, but space in just a breath, a beat. And if you do more of that, I think it gives you the opportunity to be more honest with yourself and with others.
Yeah. And also, I think it's important to, once again, be honest about who you are and be proud of who you are. Knowing who you are and who you aren't is actually one of the most useful and most honest ways of saying yes and no to various things. The amount of things that once you know who you are, once you know what you really can and cannot do, how much that frees you. I was recently, asked to do a particular project that it's some kind of graphic design work for a client that I already do some kind of graphic design work for. I just want to point out, I'm not a graphic designer. It's not my forte. Mm-hmm. I do not even necessarily use official graphic design tools or page layout stuff to do the thing I do for them, which is a kind of digital magazine. But it's something I kind of just stumble my way through because, well, they don't have anyone else that they know who can do it for a price they can afford.
Right.
And I help them out with other technical things. So in their mind, computer stuff is computer stuff, and it all goes together. But I was recently approached. They're, working on kind of co-working on another project with somebody else, and it's like this training guide, and they're like, yeah, we need you to do the cover and the graphics and blah blah blah, blah. And I said, I know you think that these things are the same and that what I do for you that just easily translates to this other thing. No. You need to hire somebody who does that work.
Yeah.
Because that is not something I really am skilled at. B, what I do for you, I kind of stumble my way through, and I'm doing as kind of a favor. And right. And number 3, but this comes from knowing who I am and being honest about what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, being honest about what I really want to do and what I don't want to do, being able to say that, yes, there's not a price you can put on that is going to change the facts of who I am.
Yep.
And so, yes, be honest with who you are, and the honesty about other things kind of just will flow from there.
Yeah. You just got to make sure that you keep that top of mind. That's why that quote, I'm going to print off that quote or find a way to get that up on my wall, because I mean, I've got lots of quotes here. Like, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good, by John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
I love that quote. Yeah. This is water. I literally can see right here, from David Foster Wallace. Like, I like to surround myself with those, but that quote of, I even have the one that, the Hemingway quote about write the true sentence that you know. Like, all of those things are there. And I'm a very symbol driven person. As we were talking about this, the idea of two things.
Something you know about yourself.
Two things, right? Number one, I think my wife and I are going to have a conversation tonight about, like, hey, should we go away and we're at that point now where, we can leave our son home and all that stuff, especially.
And just to help you out, Mike, just to be clear, that's not all we do. Like, we spend time connecting as a couple or whatever. And we do this, like, we make it fun. We go to like a coffee shop, or maybe there's a brewery in the town where we're going, and they have a tap room. Maybe we go and we have a beer and we work on a little bit more. Like, this is not something we just go away and we're just focused on this. This is something that's we go away, and that this is this is something we do, and we make it fun to do.
Yeah, it's extensive, not intensive, I think is probably the way to put it. Right?
I love it. Yep.
This has been great. We'll wrap things up here. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for the season. We're now in season 3. Season 3 of PM Talks.
Wow.
We've got a whole set of topics for the months ahead. I'm looking forward to delivering them to you through our channel here. Patrick, where can people keep up with what you've got going
on? I think probably the best place, as usual, patrickrhone.com. That will be your jumping off point to all of the other places that I am. And I will try to actually even update it, because one of the things I don't have on there, because I haven't really been honest with myself, is podcaster, and the fact that, like, I've been a regular guest. We have done this now for like 2 seasons, 2 years.
Yep.
And that I don't have that there. I should have that there, and I should have a link to these.
You should.
And so
you shared it on Blue Sky. You're like, I'm the P in PM Talks. I'm like, yes, you are.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't, for whatever reason, have not updated patrickrhone.com with that. So let me just put that on my list and make sure that it makes it onto my calendar.
I was going to say, it's going from the list to the calendar for assessment. As for me, you can go to mikevardy.com, of course. From there, you can navigate a whole bunch of things. But if you want to get updates on the progress and all of the behind the scenes stuff for my new book, Productiveness, go to mikevardy.com/productiveness, and you'll be able to get all of that as well. Thanks so much for taking the time, Patrick. We'll see you next month.
All right. Thank you, sir.